Hey guys, how you doing? So we're back again, and yesterday I posted a video about the Dragon Lord mini set, talking about some speculative, opinionating, forecasting, speculating about the product positioning of this, what the price point of the Dragon Lord mini set might be, and the print run. So it seems to be doing pretty well on views. Seems people are interested in this topic, and surprisingly, I got a lot of comments, and I thought they were pretty interesting. So I wanted to respond to the comments to that video. Typically, when I do live events, they could be anywhere from 2 to 4 hours, and people tend to enjoy it live, watch it back the next day, but you don't see as many comments per se. But on a topical video like this, we got some comments. So I wanted to get into the topic a little more. I'm just going to read off some of these from yesterday's video that was titled "Are Sorcery TCG Prices Exploding?" And what I was talking about there is the increase in pricing from alpha to beta to Arthurian Legends, and then what we kind of speculatively forecast might happen for Dragon Lord. So in my video, I speculated that the Dragon Lord mini set could fall within a range of $35 on the low end to $75 on the high end. And I'm getting that based on my own opinions and opinions from the community. By the way, there we have the Dragon Lord and the Dragon Lord's Lair, 2 of the 13 cards we expect in the set. Original painting Ring of Morrigan and the original of Avatar of Wind initially. That became Avatar of Air. And Wyvern. Wyvern. All right. So getting into the comments here. Blaine the Mono 19. He says the piece that is missing, the piece that is being missed here is the biggest question. How playable are these cards? We can talk about print runs and intent, but if the cards don't fit or help change the meta, the value will be considerably less. So, I mean, I think that's a fair point. The relevancy of the cards and correlatively the value will be tied to the playability. So, if you think about, I guess I didn't get into this in the last video, but I talked about product placement, how it fits within the product line and the various SKUs of sorcery as a set itself. And as I kind of couched it as I think this is a collectible, but it also very, very much is a playable set. They've done a lot of play testing. The company's talked about this. They talked about it at Sorcery Con Las Vegas that we had back in November. And, they talked about how they're tuning the cards. I think probably maybe the finishing details, they didn't really elaborate a whole lot, but I know they did a lot of play testing on the Dragon Lord mini set itself. Even though they're only introducing 13 cards, we do expect them to be meta relevant, as they say, and have an impact on the gameplay. So in my opinion, it's both to insert a collectible item into the product pipeline, but also create some new dynamicism and new wrinkles into the meta, making those cards synergistic with the core sets that already exist, Alpha, Beta, Arthurian Legends, and then also with cards yet to come. And I think, again, when Ed Beer Jr. was on the show, he paired live a few times on Collector Art House. He talked about how that would be the case. They're being tuned to fit within, even though it's his story, his Dragon Lord lair, Dragon Lord lore, so to speak, right? He has a whole story around these cards. He worked with Eric to fit them into the gameplay design of the game. So the cards are going to be synergistic with the existing cards, and then they'll have enhanced utility or new synergies as new sets are released, Gothic and beyond, just like Alpha, Beta, and Arthurian Legends cards will. So playability always affects value because that determines long-term relevancy. So when you look back on this, was it just kind of like a fun filler, between Arthurian Legends and Gothic, in between core sets like that? Or does it have an enduring relevance? And like I just described, I think it will have an enduring relevance because this dragon subtype within the set has potential to grow. We saw seeds of that in Alpha and Arthurian Legends. Again, there's the Wyvern or Wyvern on the floor, original painting, the card, and then other dragons to be introduced. All right. Let me see. Best lighting so far. I'm going with the natural light. You see the windows over there? The windows are usually closed to protect the paintings. And I go with artificial lighting. So we have natural light, nailed the lighting. All right, so reinforced. All right, here's one. $30 to $40 makes it a commercial product with play in mind. $50 to $70 makes it lean towards the collector's keepsake side of things personally. Of course, there's going to be stores and sites that order hundreds to crack open as they chase the unique foil treatments of all 13 cards. And when they're done, they will flood the market with their leftovers of each of their packs, driving all these uniques to zero ultimately. All right. That being the case, if it ends up being 50 plus, I would argue that for players, it's probably best to hold off on purchasing and wait to buy a full set of the cards as singles if you intend on playing them instead. Hence, my thought process on 50 plus means turning the product into collector's items first, a game piece second. Yeah, so the print size of this product will dictate, I guess, how scarce it is, which in turn are factors that affect value and collectability in a way. I mean, you could collect anything. You can collect things that are worthless. People do this. Bottle caps is the example I use, and all kinds of different things. But we're talking about value, right? If it's scarce, if it's rare, if it's hard to acquire, there's a value proposition for it. And as long as there's demand, I mean, the most critical thing ultimately always is demand. You got to have demand for anything to have value. If there's no demand, no one's buying it. There's no liquidity. It's worthless. So I think you're saying in 30 to 40 price range, that positions it more as a player's prospect. Sure. If it's cheaper, it's more accessible, and maybe they'll print more and be widely available and it'll be a player centric thing. If it's 50 to 7, he says collectible first, and then we're going to have these mass breakers that are going to crack this. That's a whole another can of worms. That's interesting. Do you guys think? Let me know in the comments if you think that the single sellers and breakers and stuff are going to mess with this product. Would you buy into a box break for a single pack proposition that has one foil, really kind of like an all or nothing proposition? Do you think single sellers are going to crack this in mass and put singles out in the market? I don't know. I think that's really intriguing to kind of think through and see, like, is that worth it from the proposition of a single seller or a breaker to really go down that path? But in any case, the print run and the supply on the market relative to the demand for the product, that's what is ultimately going to dictate valuation, and then relevancy, near-term relevancy for gameplay, and then long-term relevancy for gameplay. Do these cards hold up over time and really have a reason more than just sheer collectability for people to acquire these in years to come? All right, someone says they hope it's $29.99, but you think it's importantly, let's hope they are hard to get. Oh, so this person hopes that they're hard to get. That's interesting. Would you prefer that they're hard to get, or would you prefer they're widely available, at least for some period of time, and then they're kind of out of print, and then they become kind of scarce with time? I don't know. I mean, there's pros and cons to what kind of market dynamics that would have. All right, so Noble Dragon Games says, the question, in which the answer could portend a wild swing in EV, is what if the random premium foil card slot could contain more than just a foil version of the 13 non-foil card set? A curio, an alt-art version, something else? With EC, it would be a fool's errand to dismiss any of these possibilities. Yeah, so I mean, the spirit of that comment is you never know with Eric's Curiosa. They like to insert wrinkles and fun little Easter eggs kind of things. I guess Curios, intrinsic, unexpected collectability. In Alpha, we had the Brom card. We had the alternate art for the Death Dealer. Those were really iconic curios that really stood the test of time here. The Eric's Curiosa sketch card, those have a certain mystique to them that makes Alpha really fun and exciting. So in a mini set like this, could there be curios for that 14th card, the foil card? So maybe he's saying beyond the foil version of the 13 cards in this product, could there be a curio wrinkle? Maybe a different art that was licensed from Ed Bear Jr., maybe one that he commissioned and painted specifically for this. I think if that were to be the case, it would have to be a figure from Ed's Dragon Lord story. It wouldn't be like a different artist or an alternate art done by a different artist. That would be a deviation from the spirit of what this is. This is really Ed's story married with the sorcery story, and kind of the marriage of those two entities, figuring out how to synergize this within the sorcery realm, so to speak. But I love the idea of having some kind of unexpected wrinkle that creates like a wow factor. Someone discovers this thing. They're out on the sorcery community Facebook group, Collector Artist Discord, all these different socials, just saying like, wow, look what I found in the Dragon Lord mini set. I think that would really get people excited from a chase collectability aspect. Um, so we'll see. I don't know. All right, Crosswalk says that mini set is going to be closer to $100 than it is $30, according to math he's done. Okay, so then he gets into some math he did where he took. So some people were doing this. They took the TCG player sweepstakes offer that included Ed's version of Kairos. It was a print that he did like an embellishment on it, or like like he painted a figure, a substantial size figure, like he talked about when he appeared on my channel as part of that sweepstakes. And I think he said it's worth like a few $1,000s, So people took like, okay, if you said the price of this was valued at that, and then they took into consideration some of the other items like the package itself, the Dragon Lord box itself, and they tried to reverse engineer what that means of how this could be priced. So he thinks it's going to be around $100. That's, I don't know, $100 is a high end. I haven't heard a lot of people speculating to be quite that high. Let me see. What else did he say here? So he went on to say, so Chris from Bearish says, if Eric Curiosa isn't in the market of doing secret layer like sets, do you think the sorcery community would be more receptive to a higher price point? If they released it around the time of Gothic, could this make a higher price point more acceptable? So yeah, Chris was of the mind that like maybe this would be better to release with Gothic. I actually think the timing of this coming to market is perfect. It's a beautiful thing, like perfect to design. It's like this interim thing. I actually talked with Chris about this last night after he hit me up and DM'd me after the video, and he was saying like, yeah, maybe this would have been better if they came out together. In my mind, I think it's perfect that this is kind of like a whet your appetite kind of insert between core sets. So you had Arthurian Legends. It's been quite a while since we had that set now, half a year in. And it's perfect to have a new product coming out with Gen Con. It's really exciting. And then maybe within a few months later, we get Gothic. So we get to enjoy the Dragon Lord mini set exclusively. Like, as AL gets stale, here we have this new mini set product, Dragon Lord, and we get to enjoy that exclusively. All focus on that for a few months or so. And then you have Gothic, and we kind of pivot to Gothic. And perhaps there's, like I was saying earlier, new dragons in Gothic, and those Dragon Lord cards that we were having fun playing with and pairing with the Arthurian Legends and Alpha Beta dragons. You now have new Gothic dragons that make those cards more interesting, more dynamic, more exciting in various ways. So I think that'll be really cool and a lot of fun. So Crossrock again responds to this and he says, yeah, that's a good point. I think we all have a higher tolerance for sorcery's pricing because we get what's gone into the product. Okay, so he's saying they invest a lot of time and energy to make it a premium product, so we accept that the pricing is higher. If the cards are exclusive to this mini set and aren't in Gothic, then my guess is customers revolt and maybe there's a decline in Gothic sales. That's interesting. Or they revolt and buy it anyways. If we get to Gothic and find out all of the Dragon Lord cards are in Gothic, then it's a different problem, but I don't think it's as bad. Okay, so if we get to Gothic and find out all the Dragon Lord cards are in Gothic, he doesn't think it's as bad. If he says again, if the cards are exclusive to this mini set and are not in Gothic, then his guess is customers revolt and maybe there's a decline in Gothic sales. So I guess he prefers that this Dragon Lord mini set is again reprinted within Gothic. I hadn't really considered that. I thought it would be exclusive to the Dragon Lord mini set, and I think it would have to be, right? You wouldn't want to dilute it with a whole new additional reprint in Gothic. But if it gets back to like, how much of this are you going to print? If you need enough to be out there, I think in the near term, I mean, we talked about this in the last episode where I thought maybe they would print 30 to 50,000 to kind of be in line with what the Kickstarter demand was and any presumed growth or observed growth in their metrics since then. And, all right, and we're back, guys. I had to cut it again with the kids going nuts outside. They want popsicles. It's a nice summer day. All right, so I was saying I thought it would be 30 to 50,000 because there was 30,000 in the Alpha Kickstarter, and then I'm assuming there's been some growth, even though there's been some attrition. There's also been some new growth, so I'm pegging the market size at somewhere in that 30 to 50,000 of active, interested. Like I guess I would say not people. That's kind of too narrow, but the amount that the market could absorb of this, with it being kind of paired with demand or almost undercutting demand a little bit to make it an exciting chase and feel a little scarce, you know, so it has value and it warrants the premium. So I think that is kind of the range I'm looking at. And I think if they print in that range, that would be enough to satisfy the existing market through Gothic, and you would not need to reprint it in Gothic. I think it's more likely that perhaps next year or the year after, whenever they deem it's necessary and they're ready to do this, is perhaps have a revised set that includes the essentials from the first few sets, or something therein, you know, like reprints of the core sets, the core cards, to satisfy a growing market. If the secondary is kind of like getting inflated, or, you know, supply is too limited to onboard new players. But I don't think like reprinting right away within Gothic is necessary. Let me see. All right, last comment here, I think. Atticus, 1695. He says it should be $35, but I expect it to be $50 just because of the random foil. I would hope with the game's lack of precon decks, doesn't have a lack of precon decks. I'll get to that in a minute. This could be a great 13-card starting point for new players to complement an Arthurian box or post-draft, but I fear a low print run will make it hard to pick up. You know, this isn't, in my opinion, this is not designed to onboard new players. It's not a substitute for precon decks. We had precon decks in Alpha. We had precon decks with our, with Beta, right? Not with Arthurian Legends. With Alpha, with Beta, and then we're expecting precon decks again with Gothic. The company said they're going to be doing that. So those are the core products to onboard new players. Maybe he's referring to, there was like a big void in time where we did not have accessibility to just go online and buy precon decks or get them through distribution, you know? So that was kind of interesting, but this is not this is not like a set in my mind that is designed to onboard new players. Again, I think it's an interim to satisfy collectors between core sets and players with a new wrinkle, new excitement, new like kind of meta altering archetypes that could kind of shake things up, you know, and have fun and hold us over and kind of bridge to Gothic and be its own thing that we could wholly enjoy as well. So be unique and fun in its own right. Let me see. All right, so and then Crosswalk responds here and says they definitely want it to be collectible, but if the cards are exclusive, then we're in for a terrible outcome. Simon said they're going to be wide availability for a limited time. All right, so we'll kind of see on availability again. We don't know the distribution strategy aside from them being available at Gen Con for the first time. So that kind of sums it up, guys. I appreciate all the comments. Please continue to do that. Maybe let me know if you like this kind of video where we kind of respond to interesting comments against the videos. I might do that from time to time if there's enough there to kind of spark some new ideas on kind of what I put out there in the first place. So please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you soon. We're probably going to try to do a live again next Friday, like I say, maybe even a recorded video. You never know. Take care.